Hello, Dr. Kalman Andrassy, and I'm going to be talking about focus group interviews, the third part of the three-part interview series. And one of the more fun types of research methods that one might be able to employ to collect certain types of data. So what really sets apart a focus group interview is that you have multiple participants interviewed together as opposed to a one-on-one sort of setting that you have in an in-depth or an oral history kind of an interview. So the idea is that the researcher is going to be able to find out what the main topics of concern are from multiple participants sort of at the same time, and because of that it's a very useful tool for conducting exploratory research. Okay? So focus groups are a little bit different because they allow the researcher to gather a pretty significantly large amount of qualitative data from multiple people, multiple research subjects at the same time and in a rather inexpensive way. So it's kind of fun like that. They're often used in evaluative research to see what people's opinions are about the strengths and weaknesses of programs and policies. Focus groups allow you to do things that you're not really able to do with one-on-one interviews. So, not only do the respondents ultimately respond to the researcher the way that you would in a traditional one-on-one sort of an interview setting, but the respondents also respond to one another and kind of feed off one another. So that group effect it provides a different context that you wouldn't get from another type of interview kind of setting. What's also really cool about these kinds of interviews is that it also kind of puts people in a setting to kind of denaturalize some of the notions that they might have otherwise thought of as sort of common sense about the social world. So ideas that might be taken for granted might be reconsidered in a group setting where people are kind of in a position to challenge each other and challenge each other's thoughts on particular topics of discussion. So, one of the big considerations about how to conduct your focus group is how heterogeneous or homogeneous you want your group to ultimately be. The more heterogeneous or the more diverse the individuals within the group, the more diverse you can expect the opinions to be on the particular phenomena that are being explored. And of course, the more homogeneous the group is, the more kind of in-depth exploration you're able to have on a particular topic from a very specific set of perspectives. So yeah, sometimes individuals want to have a very homogeneous group to be able to find out the specifics of how certain demographics believe or respond to certain types of phenomena. Sometimes you want it to be more heterogeneous, or sometimes you want to just segment the groups where they might have different characteristics from one another, or have different groups with similar characteristics, allowing for diverse opinions to be stated, but in sort of a more homogeneous kind of a setting. As for the researcher himself or herself, generally they're going to be the moderator of a focus group. They're going to ultimately decide how structured the overall approach is going to be to the topics that are being discussed. And ultimately, the moderator is what's going to go and kind of control the way in which topics are being discussed and how things are being explored, right? So once you've actually collected your data, you're then able to, of course, analyze it from a number of different perspectives, and just like with an interview. An in-depth interview rather, or a oral history, you can choose to focus on the themes and trends that show up, but you can also look at the focus group from both an individual and a group perspective, right? Because there is that group effect that does kind of take place. So you can pay attention, of course, to the individual responses, but then you can kind of think about how the topic was discussed within the context of the group. And a really great way of kind of charting that out or mapping it out is to engage in a form of data analysis known as concept mapping, where individuals, particular responses are kind of related to one another and kind of grouped together, based on how they were kind of discussed in the context of the focus group. So you can kind of chart out visually how relationships are kind of, or how discussions were kind of related to one another, and how attitudes and beliefs and behaviors and things like that are connected conceptually to whatever it was that was kind of being examined and researched in that group sort of setting. So yeah, the focus groups are really useful tool to be able to get a lot of information really quickly, and to be able to look at opinions and perspectives on particular topics from a really multifaceted sort of way. So I always encourage, considering to start research with focus groups, depending on the type of research that's being conducted, particularly if it does involve an organization's policies or programs or anything like that, just to kind of get the perspectives of different individuals on the types of activities that the organization participates in. And if you're trying to get a lot of information at once, getting a focus group involved is definitely a way to do that. Especially as it relates to opinions on very narrow subjects that you can kind of expect people to have divergent opinions about. So being from California, I know that focus groups are used a lot in determining the marketing tools and whatnot for all sorts of different advertising, but also it has been used in the past for movie endings and things like that, where people kind of were brought together to watch the ending of a movie or the entirety of the movie, and particularly focusing on the ending and discussing what they liked or didn't like about the ending. And there are some movies that have multiple endings shot just to see what would play well with audiences in a cinematic sort of setting. I know that there's a lot of movies that you can buy, and some of the bonus features include the diverse endings that could have been portrayed, that most likely a focus group or many focus groups were possibly involved in kind of weeding out what would be the most appropriate given the circumstances, right? So yeah, that's what makes a focus group really an interesting tool, is that you can get people to debate the pros and cons of any topic, and really kind of think about the perspectives that the general public would likely have given the same circumstances.